Okay, recording is started.
Okay, everybody, thanks for coming. I'm Kathleen McLaughlin. I'm a senior scientist at Merck, which is a pharmaceutical company, and this will be my 26th year with them. Good company. So how did I become a microbiologist? So I went to a private faith-based high school like you do, and I worked very hard, graduated as valedictorian.
Session 2 is now starting. Session 2 is now starting.
I did many college visits and took a critical look at their science programs. I was very interested in science from middle school, and so I knew that's what I wanted to do. I knew that to get into some of these schools I needed to get good SAT scores, so I did take an SAT prep class, and I was a regular churchgoer and involved with youth group and community service. And so I decided to go to University of Rochester in Rochester, New York, because we didn't have a lot of money for me to go to college, but because of my high grades, I was able to get a lot of scholarship, and they actually gave me more money than Rutgers wanted to give me. So it was actually more cost effective for me to travel from South Jersey to Rochester than to stay in state. So I went there and had a great time, loved the campus. And there, you either have to, if you're going to get a Bachelor of Arts degree, that's just the regular biology degree. But if you wanted to specialize in a field, then you could get your Bachelor of Science. And so they had 5 different fields that you could major in. So I decided to get my Bachelor of Science in Microbiology and Immunology. I absolutely loved my microbiology class and thought this is what I want to do. At that point, I was also involved in some student organizations like I had been in high school, and I became part of University Christian Fellowship, and I didn't know the Lord as my personal Savior until the gospel message was preached one day, and I'm like, oh, that's what I've been missing. So I accepted the Lord as my Savior as a freshman, and the Lord had preserved me to get to that point, and He preserved me from that point going forward. I was able to make solid Christian friends in college, which I think is important to keep you on that straight and narrow path. And I really felt like the Lord guiding me to do that. So I wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I graduated college, but with a Bachelor of Science, you can go into any number of fields. We're going to cover those quickly. But I did apply to medical school, and that didn't work out. And so I had been working as a technician in an academic lab, and so that exposed me to what research as a full-time job would be like, and I was like, oh, I can do this. And so I started to look for positions where I could do that, but I didn't really know a difference between an academic lab and an industry lab. I didn't really know that, but I did get a chance to apply for, and I was awarded a research fellowship that I took advantage of. That was at the University Hospital in an academic lab, and that was the summer between my junior and senior year of college. So I did stay in Rochester for the summer, away from my family, and that was really good. And so when I graduated, I applied for, I went to a job fair and got a contract position at Merck, which is where I actually work now. And the benefit of taking that position was I got experience in an industrial lab setting, what was required, how did it differ from the academic lab. And so because of that, when a full-time position opened in the department where I'd been working, I was able to apply and get that job. And so I really was thankful that happened. And okay, so with a Bachelor of Science in Microbiology, there's a number of fields you can go in. Again, you can do an industrial career such as the pharmaceutical company, food science, cosmetics, fuel or oil industry, or you could do an academic or a government lab. So that would be at a university hospital or a different research lab. And there's also academic and government sponsored labs in all these other fields too. So there's different benefits and negatives to either one. Industry generally has a lot more money. Academic, you're applying for grants, and there's a lot more legwork involved in getting the funds. You could also work in a hospital or a diagnostic lab testing patient samples for different things, blood counts, diseases, those types of things. I'm a microbiologist, right? That's an option. And then again, as I mentioned, a lot of my fellow graduates were pursuing degrees in the medical field. Either they were going to go on to advanced nursing or start nursing for the first time, dentistry, medical, the different medical fields. And so here's some of the degrees that are the most useful if you want to have a career in science. Again, the biology that I talked about, chemistry, physics. We need mathematicians, statisticians. We also need nurses and doctors. So Merck works with all of these folks when administering medicines, especially in clinical trials. We also need lawyers, patents, different things, corporate law. So I actually work with a lot of chemical engineers and biochemical engineers as well. So here's an overview of the company I work for. So we're known as Merck in the United States and Canada, MSD, Merck Sharp and Dohme, outside of the United States and Canada, so that we're not confused with the German company Merck, because of, they manufacture chemicals and everything. So we can't be known as Merck outside of the US. And so it's one of the largest, most successful, and most respected pharmaceutical companies in the world. And it's headquartered in Rahway, New Jersey. And right now they're consolidating all of the other sites, research sites, to the labs in Rahway. So right now we're actually getting ready for the move. So my labs will be moving at the end of June. And so that's a huge undertaking to move all of this $1 million worth of equipment safely and correctly to new lab space. Where does it go? Is it gonna fit? So that's a big, something that I wasn't expecting to do, but I'm doing now. And so specifically about the research and development organization, we're called Merck Research Labs. They aspire to be the premier research-intensive biopharmaceutical company in the world, and we bring creative minds together to transform world-class science into life-changing medicines and vaccines. And we follow the science where we can make the greatest difference now and in the future. So one of Merck's loves is to meet unmet medical need. So where is there an area of disease that does not have a treatment? And so that's where they like to focus. And the road to a new medicine, it's important to note that most investigational compounds don't succeed. Companies invest 10, 15 years worth of effort, time, money, staff to investigate these things, but not very many make it. And there's different reasons for that. Maybe doesn't work as well as they thought it would. Maybe there's dangerous side effects. So there's different levels to see whether something is going to fall into that category or not. And so it's a process, and hopefully for the ones that aren't going to work out, you find out sooner rather than later. And then you can direct those staff and funds to something that will be a success. So there's the discovery part, where you're finding or creating or making new chemical and biological molecules or inventing new chemistries. And a discovery process will make a small amount of the desired product. So I work right now in the development organization, which is, okay, we have a desired product, we want to make more of it. And not only do we want to make more of it, but we have to optimize the process to get the most we can, but it also has to be high purity, so high quality. Once we have that, then there's the commercialization department. And what they do is they have a process that's good enough. Okay, how can we scale it up to make more? And the reason they need to make more is because it needs to be tested. It needs to be tested in humans in clinical trials. And there's a couple of different kinds of clinical trials, right? They actually tested in healthy people to see what the side effects are in a normal population. And then it'll, of course, be used with people with that disease to see if it's effective for that disease. And finally, the goal of every process is a new drug application and approval of that new product. And once it gets approved, there's already talks in, okay, well, now that it's approved, we have to make enough of it to supply the market. We have all these people who have this disease or condition, we have to make enough of it. And then there's two parts to the organization generally, and one is biologics and one is chemistry. And these are all the molecules that you guys know about. So antibacterials, antifungals, antivirals. We also do therapeutic proteins and antibodies now that fight autoimmune disorders, cancer, and different things. So that's the side of the business I'm in. The other side that is touched by biologics is the vaccines. So everybody hopefully got vaccinated when you were a little kid. You still get vaccines now. You'll still get vaccines as an adult. And that's to prevent, that's preventable disease. So you take it so that you don't get that disease. Chemistry or chemical side of the business we call small molecule, because they're structures of carbons and nitrogens and oxygens and all of that. And those are chemical compounds that are synthesized, and those fight, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, those types of things. And of course, also antibacterials, antifungals, and antivirals. Okay? So this is how you make a biologic molecule. There's an upstream and downstream process. And so the upstream process development refers to the first step in which biomolecules such as antibodies or therapeutic proteins are produced, usually by bacterial or mammalian cell culture in a bioreactor. So that's what those little ovals are. When the culture reaches the desired density, they're harvested, and then that cell broth is passed to the downstream part of the process. And so the downstream process refers to the recovery and purification of biomolecules from natural sources such as cell broth. And so what you do is you can start here at the centrifuging, and what you do is you get the cells away from the broth. So usually these cells excrete the product that you're making, and so you don't need the cells anymore. So you centrifuge them, but now you have your product plus all the media and all the feeds and all this other stuff you don't want. So you have to go through different steps to purify it. So that's the part that I'm involved in. And on the right-hand side, you can see there's different kinds of things you can do to get that molecule away from the other stuff you don't want. So there's chromatography columns, there's filtrations, there's different steps. Now you can see why I've been doing the same thing for so long, right? Like, just to learn about any one of these things takes years to be a real expert in it. And so it's very interesting, so that's why I've done it. So to give you some more detail about the different levels that are available, so if you're an R1, so I'm on the research ladder because I'm in the research labs, that would be an associate scientist position, and again, that's an entry level. And so you would be coming right out of college with your bachelor's, coming to work for Merck. And this is an average salary, and then here's the salary range, depending on which company you work for, what you're gonna do. And then again, you're an individual contributor, but you don't know anything. Like, you're literally just out of school. So you'll be paired with a senior scientist or somebody who's been at the company for a couple of years, and they'll show you the ropes. So that's the best way to learn, is from somebody who knows what they're doing. And the work that you're going to be working on is usually on a project where you contribute directly to the pipeline. And so that's a molecule that the company has deemed important, and they're going to put a lot of resources on it. So you're directly making an impact. And again, you'll learn one of those steps usually that were listed on the right. When you've been there a couple years, or if you come in with your master's degree, you'll be a scientist. So that's an R2. Again, you may need to learn how the new company works, or especially if you haven't been in a lab, you come in with your master's, you're coming still from school, you still have a lot to learn, individual contributor. But now what you're also doing is you're reading papers and trying to learn from your peers at other companies and within your company what's working, what's not working, what are new technologies that I can use. So then in R3 as a senior scientist, that's a doctorate level position. So that's a PhD level position, or if you have 7 to 10 years experience. So maybe it's a master's level, you've come in with your master's, now you've been at the company 5 to 10 years, and they've promoted you. And again, salary range, and now you're expected to provide input into the experiments that are running. You may be given the chance to lead a project and direct the other people working on those different steps. And again, you're going to be responsible for training, coaching, mentoring the new people that come into the department, because you're gonna be an expert at this point, hopefully. It depends though, if you've just come out of school with your PhD, then again, you're still gonna be learning while also doing some of these other things. And then the next level is the associate principal scientist. So this is somebody with advanced scientific experience, so they're at they have their PhD or have achieved that PhD level, plus an additional 15 or so years of experience. And at this point, not only are you working on things that affect the pipeline, but you have insight across your department to other technology development items and other things that the department's working on. Plus, you might get a chance to do some work for other things that the company needs or the department needs that have nothing to do with science, like getting new computers for all the lab instruments, or just even upgrading your work laptops. Like somebody needs to be in charge of that. So they're gonna want a responsible person to be in charge of that. Okay, so I think I'm doing a little better this time. Yeah. So a typical work day is to go into work. I go into work 5 days a week. I don't work from home. I have no lab at home. So I go into work, I check my email and the schedule. And if I have experiments that I have to conduct in the lab, then I'm responsible to plan them, execute, document in an electronic lab notebook all of what I've done and the results. I'll generate the reports or summaries to tell other people about the results so that we can make decisions as a team. I use a lot of specialty equipment. That equipment breaks. We don't always have time to wait for an engineer or somebody to come in and fix it, so sometimes we fix it ourselves. And then of course I have a ton of meetings. So, and it's meetings about good things, bad things, lots of meetings. So the good experience is I'm always learning new things. Even now, year 26, I'm still gonna be learning new things. I have an opportunity to develop new skills, develop the skills I have, and to also get rotations to different parts of the company. If I've decided, okay, I wanna look at product management, or I want to look at clinical trials, like I can apply for those positions and rotate there. And then if I really like it, I could stay or I could rotate back. I've worked on 2 medicines that were approved by the FDA. One is an anti-cancer antibody that's wildly successful, and it treats like 14 or 15 different kinds of cancer. I work with very smart, dedicated, and interesting people. Sometimes they're a little quirky, but it's good. And so I also get paid well, and I have good benefits, pension, a lot of other things that are desirable. And the benefit of that is that lets me support our church and the Lord's work because I have a good paying job. Now, what are the negatives? Like I said, I have a lot of meetings. My husband often says, how do you get anything done when you're always in meetings? So that's a drawback, but you're always deciding, okay, well, I think we should do this and we should do this. There has to be an agreement of what work is going to be done. There is a heavy workload. It's stressful at times. There's a tight timelines in industry because you have to be the first to market or the second to market to be able to justify the expense of some of these medicines. And there is that dichotomy. A lot of people don't think scientists can be Christians and vice versa. But what I've found is that God has shown me that he's the greatest scientist, right? Because of the way he's created us. We're so complex. To me, it just makes sense. So, and you have to be able to get constructive feedback, to give it and to receive it. So it's not always easy to take criticism, but it's so that you grow and get better at what you're doing. So you have to learn how to do that. And so then I've just highlighted some things that you should be learning here or that you'll learn in college that will help you. So are there any questions? Hopefully that was good.
5 minutes for questions. Yep. Yay.
Thanks for listening. Yeah.
You said that like at the end of June you were gonna go to like the Raleigh.
Yeah. So we have a building that they built us in Kenilworth about 10 years ago. And then now they're building us another new building. So the building's actually been built, and they're giving us all new lab space. The industry changes, so all of our lab benches are gonna be on wheels, and so that we can move things around and be flexible. And so, to me, it's like a lot of money that's spent to just build another building and move everybody. But they want flexibility. So, yeah.
Do people like live there? Because I live in Rahway and I pass by and I see the building. Do people live there?
No, they don't live there.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, you might just see people there at all times because now they're opening. Like we actually have people move in. Like we moved the first group of people into that new building like 2 weeks ago. So there's a lot of stuff that they still have to finish, and so people will be working basically around the clock just to try to finish. It could just be like painting the stairwells or something, but yeah. It's a lot of people. I think it's going to be like 6,000 or 8,000 people who work there by the time everybody's done moving. So it's a big, gigantic campus. Yeah. Yes.
Have you guys worked on like medicines for STDs and stuff?
STDs? So we have, that's a good question. I don't know, but we have vaccines to prevent different things. And we also have a lot of like hepatitis A, B, and C vaccines. I think those are diseases that affect your liver mainly.
Yeah.
And once you get them, like you can't get rid of them. So that's the problem with a lot of viruses, right? They live in your body, and even though you may be symptom free, they wait. They lay in wait in your body. Same with cancer. So yeah, it's important that if vaccines are available that you take them. Yes.
Why do people think that scientists can be Christian?
So a lot of scientists they believe, because evolutionary theory is a science theory, that we were created by the Big Bang, or, we started out as a monkey and then we evolved, and they just think it's impossible, right? They don't believe in miracles and a creator God who basically said, no, I'm going to create the world in my image, and humans are going to be a reflection of the Trinity, right? So it's a foreign concept to them. Yeah.
Do you think that was like a big obstacle in even like getting your education, like going to college and stuff?
So I don't think so. And to be honest, I don't really have a lot of persecution at work. It's just they expect you just to go along with the norms. So the problem with Merck, and I don't like to, and I mean Merck isn't perfect. So they're a big corporation, and they employ a wide range and diverse people for sure. So of course they're very liberal in terms of diversity and inclusion, and everybody should be treated equally. And of course, yes, they should. But just because everybody should be treated with respect and love and equality doesn't mean you have to agree with their position. And so far, it hasn't come up like where I have to support something that I don't believe in. Because guess what? I needed to be treated with equality and inclusion too, right? People just think that, okay, well, Christians can be excluded. No, if you're going to be an inclusive company, then my opinion matters too. So I think I've been blessed in that respect. But yeah, I've definitely seen God's hand in my life, directing me this way. And I'm glad I didn't stay in Rochester. It's very cold there. So I'm glad I came back to New Jersey. Let's raffle. Everybody put one in. There should be 6 in here.